Oh, hey folks. So this video I want to make today is about location and how that can relate to your healing program. Um, where you live can definitely affect how well you do physically on your program. So just to give you a few examples of this in my own life, I developed really bad asthma around 2009, 2010. Um, the asthma medicine didn't really work very well for me anymore. I had it as a kid, and then on and off over the years, relatively rarely. I'd not had it for several years, and then suddenly, bang, it was back with a vengeance. Um, Struggling to breathe almost all the time. Somehow managed to sleep at night, even though each breath was a bit of an effort. It was a bad time, um, and wound up going on a holiday to Greece in September. Living in the UK at the time, um, fly down to Greece, get off the plane. Within 24 hours, my asthma's gone, 100% gone, no asthma at all. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Um, End of the holiday, fly home. Within 24 hours, the asthma's back, just as bad as it was before. So I was like, damn. Then the next year, I still got this asthma really bad. I'm so sick of it. It gets to September, I just tell my girlfriend at the time, Polly, I say, I have to get out of here. I have to go somewhere where I'm not going to have this asthma. I just can't take it anymore. So I picked Clearwater, Florida. I'd been there before, so I felt comfortable versus going somewhere I didn't know where I was going. I'd never been before. Same thing happened. Flew out there within 24 hours. I think it was September, mid-September again. Flew out there within 24 hours. The asthma's totally gone, 100% gone. Stayed there for 3.5 weeks. Came back. Same thing happened again. 24 hours off the plane, and the asthma's back, full blown. So where your location is can definitely affect you. So I'm going to go into basically what I think's going on with that. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is I've just had another experience along this line. I moved from Clearwater, Florida. Once I moved to America, I was in Clearwater, Florida for about 10 years. My health definitely improved there a lot compared to what it was when I was in England, both physically and mentally, because I have both problems. I have the depression and anxiety problem, and then also some chronic physical things, which are related in my experience. Probably the majority of the mental stuff comes from the body, dysfunctions in the body. So, so I basically moved from Florida to Washington State, which is Western Washington, near Seattle, in November last year, and definitely not long after moving, definitely was doing a lot worse. Had severe seasonal affective disorder, depression, anxiety, apathy, real trouble concentrating, focusing. But I thought, as the spring and summer comes around, it's supposed to be a beautiful spring and summer here, and it'll probably get a lot better. And maybe if I can do well over the spring and summer, I'll have the seasonal affective disorder thing figured out for the autumn. But that didn't happen. The spring and summer came around. It's now June, and still pretty much the same, much to my amazement. We got these. It's beautiful here in the summer. We have all this great nature, a lot of sunny days over the summer, bright sunshine. But again, chronic depression and anxiety. So basically, I went on holiday to Colorado several weeks back, and as soon as I got off the plane, felt so much better. Not straight after getting off the plane, but within a day, I just felt so much better. And I know probably a lot of people watch this video are like, well, you're on holiday, you're going to feel better. But I've been on holiday before many times over the years, and it doesn't make me feel that much better, which is why I've not done that many holidays, because the stress of traveling and stuff often negates any, for me anyway, negates a lot of the enjoyment on the holiday. So I've not really done that many holidays because it's kind of like, yeah, there's some good moments on the holidays, but the stress of travel and everything just has made it so it's most of the time not really worth it. So anyway, get to Colorado, felt great for the whole holiday. And even when I got back, I retained some of that mojo for a couple of days, but definitely started to feel worse when I came back here. Did a week or two here, and then basically my relatives who we've moved here to be near want to move over to Idaho. So I went over to Idaho, to Boise, drove there, and literally leave this place. It's rainy, even though it's summer. It's a rainy day, stormy a little bit. Western Washington, you have the Cascade Mountains to the east. So when you're driving east, you go over the Cascade Mountains, and then you're in eastern Washington. Eastern Washington is basically it's a semi-arid. It's much drier than Western Washington. Western Washington's kind of like England, green and wet, and then Eastern Washington's kind of like more barren, more brown. So literally, we drive over the mountains, and as I'm coming down over the eastern side of Washington, immediately I start to feel much better. And the whole time, I wasn't there for long, but the whole time I was in Idaho, felt so much better. Drive home, again, as soon as I start coming into Western Washington, I start to feel myself going down again. I did retain again some of the mojo I had from before, but within 24 hours of being back, it's all the same stuff again. So the purpose of this video is I want to try and explain what I think is going on there, what that's all about. And I think the best way to describe it is using Eastern medicine terminology, yin and yang. If you study nutritional balancing and Dr. Wilson's article on yin and yang, you'll know that there are yin climates and yang climates, and then there are yin bodies and yang bodies. Most people nowadays in Western society are too yin. They're unbalanced to the yin side. What they need to get better, they have to become more yang. So it generally suits most people to be in a yang climate, or a yang place to live will help them get better. So basically, to describe the difference between a yang climate and a yin climate, a yang climate is dry, hot, generally higher up, more mountainous, and away from the sea and large bodies of water. So a yin climate is kind of like cold, wet, low, by water, gloomy, not as much sun and all that kind of thing. So if you relate that to my experiences, England's pretty yin. It's damp, cold, gloomy. Yeah, it gets better in the summer. But when I flew out to Greece, when I had the asthma, it's much more yang down there. You're closer to the equator. It's brighter, hotter, drier. Even by the sea, it's still a lot drier and brighter than England. So, and then when I flew to Florida, same thing. Yes, Florida's by the sea. It is by the sea, but it's hotter and brighter and closer to the equator. So overall, it's still much more yang than England, which is why I think my asthma got so much better when I went over there. And now I realize, being in Washington, even the body of water you're next to, I think, makes a difference. And I experienced this in Florida. When I was in Clearwater, Florida, you're next to the Gulf of Mexico. That sea is not as yin as the Atlantic. The Atlantic's a bigger, colder body of water. It's more yin. When I drove over once to Daytona Beach over there, it felt nothing like the west coast of Florida. So in Florida, on the east coast, Miami and all that, you're bordering the Atlantic. On the west coast, you're bordering the Gulf of Mexico. So looking back on it now, I can kind of see how the differences between the yin and the yang. So the purpose of this video is to let you know, if you're trying to get better, your location where you are can be a pretty major factor. Luckily, I'm going to be able to move. I'm going to be moving out to Boise, Idaho. And I'm going to know for sure when I get out there, if I stay feeling a lot better like I was when I was out there for a year or two. I'm not saying it needs to be a year or two, but we're not going to know it's not just some kind of placebo effect. I don't really get the placebo effect thing anyway, so I'm 99% sure that's not what's going on. I try new things all the time and very rarely gets any kind of placebo effect just because I'm doing something new, something different. So yeah, if you're trying to get better and you are yin, as most of us are, you should be able to figure out whether you're yin or yang. Reading Dr. Wilson's articles on yin and yang physical conditions, probably you're too yin. 9 out of 10 people too yin. You might find if you can move to a more yang location, it will help your program. For me, it's literally the difference between completely failing at the program right now and getting better. It's like how I felt in Colorado and out in Idaho. It's just 50 times better than out here. And the other thing that happened over there was because I was traveling, I wound up really violating my diet in a way which would normally crush me. Eating gluten normally makes me feel so awful mentally, like the anxiety is just off the chart. Yeah, when I was traveling, I got away with it. I ate it and I just did not get the same kind of vicious reactions, which shows the body is happier and doing better in that environment. So that's got to be a good thing. So just something that isn't talked about that often when people are trying to get better, something to bear in mind.